In the aftermath of Superstorm Sandy, I had a 16-year-old congregant trapped in her home with her mother. The teenager had cancer. She had been released from Sloan Kettering after major surgery. It was just 2 days earlier. They live in Westchester County, and the power had gone out, which meant that they had no heat and also no running water, which happens when you're on a well and electricity goes out. So the mother was panicked. She really couldn't care for her daughter. She was a single mother, so it was just the two of them in the house. And under those conditions, she knew that her daughter was in real trouble. So she called an ambulance. And she was hoping to get her daughter to a hospital. The ambulance, though, couldn't get through because too many trees were down. So she called me. My family had actually left. We had gone to Connecticut. We moved in with my sister. My whole family, our dogs, plus a neighbor of mine who's a friend and also UU, as it happens. The mother was asking if I knew anyone who could give them a generator, and if so, might I know an electrician who could hook it up. So with power out in every town and so many roads blocked, I honestly couldn't figure out how I was going to help her, but I had spent a lot of time with them in the hospital. I knew the daughter well. I knew that this was a very real situation. I was feeling very motivated. So I started just calling people in my congregation, those who had phones and I could reach. And my friend, my neighbor, started calling people in her congregation. And each person we called cast this very wide net to see what we could find. Somebody in her church was an electrician, and he said that he would gladly go and hook up any generator if someone could find one. And then someone else agreed that their generator, they had a generator, it was on, but that their family needed it less than this other family, so they offered to donate it, but they had no way of getting there. So two other families from another congregation figured out how they were going to get it there, and they picked it up. They actually had to carry it part of the way, and I don't know if you know a generator, but that's not an easy thing to do. But they did, and they got it to this house, and the electrician was there, and they set it up, and they had heat, and they had hot water, and I really believe that they may have saved this girl's life. That's 4 different families called to service by dozens of others, all of them being church. They were what I might call living church or doing church. They weren't sitting in church, they were embodying the principles of our faith, living out of a deep care for the stranger, for the sick, for the child, for the one in need. So what really is church? I mean, I've been wrestling with this question a lot since March of 2020 when we went into lockdown. We no longer had a place to gather, so what is church? For some time, I decided church is the soft place we land when we feel like we're falling. We weren't in a building, but we were living church on dozens of Zoom calls each week, where we created connection with and for each other. Do you remember those gatherings? A lot of you were there. Mostly, we were just checking in with each other, right? We were reaching past the silence, the anxiety, the loneliness, offering each other warmth and empathy, keeping each other from crashing. And then George Floyd was killed. And we took to the streets. We marched and organized, even at risk to our own health, propelled by injustice. We'd been on the streets together before, plenty of times, and all through our history, and we've been there since, standing up against violence and institutionalized racism. And not only a soft place to land, church is a herald for justice. And we answered the call to prayer with our Jewish, Christian, Buddhist, Muslim, and Sikh neighbors when people who had recently immigrated were being torn from their homes and sent to countries where they were not safe. We gathered during that time several times near Washington Square Park, always at someone's invitation, joining our voices and our vision of the world. A soft place to land, a herald for justice, and an interfaith partner. Through that time, our kids met on Sunday mornings for children's chapel. Our youth engaged groundbreaking online programming connecting art with their faith. Our adults attended countless classes, and we launched 2 intern ministers. Because in addition to being a soft place to land, a herald for justice, and an interfaith partner, we are a teaching church. And not just a teaching church, we also spent and spend so much time together discerning, asking big questions about life and our place in it. We observed the ways society buckled under the pressure of the pandemic, and we struggled together to put it in context, trying to learn all we could from this huge social experiment. Together, we stood above and watched everything unfold as we sought to make meaning from it all, because we are a soft place to land, a herald for justice, an interfaith partner, a teaching church, and a balcony. $600,000 people are sleeping on the streets of New York City every night. We welcome a few into our home, serving them supper, joining them to break bread and discuss the news of the day, offering a warm, safe place to rest. We do our best to provide a space that's clean, with fresh sheets, comfortable beds, hot food, a center for respite for those whose lives feel difficult and who are often pushed to the margins of society. When I witness the authentic respect our volunteers have for our guests, I'm reminded of Dorothy Day telling her volunteers that the poor, this is a direct quote, the poor will forgive you the bread you give them, dependent only on the love with which it's offered. A soft place to land, a herald for justice, an interfaith partner, a teaching church, a balcony, and a servant to those in need. And here we are without a building of our own, but gathering every week, meeting before the service for coffee, afterwards to share a meal, greeting one another week after week, and not just Sundays, but Mondays to talk about self-care, and Tuesdays for yoga, and Wednesdays for church business, and Thursdays for art class and Spanish class, and to play D&D together, and Fridays for evening centering, and Saturdays for anti-racism work. We are a 7-day church because we want to be together. We want to share our lives with each other, and because we know that church isn't somewhere you go for an hour on Sunday. It's a soft place to land, a herald for justice, an interfaith partner, a teaching church, a balcony, a servant for those in need, and a genuine community. And not everyone can be here. Some of us are homebound, sick, or physically unable to make the trip. So we visit. We bring food, we play Scrabble, we send flowers, we help each other navigate new technology or get to a doctor's appointment. We call to check in, we visit each other in hospitals, we remember birthdays and anniversaries and celebrate accomplishments wherever they happen. a soft place to land, a herald for justice, an interfaith partner, a teaching church, a balcony, a servant to those in need, a genuine community, and a circle of care. We gather on Sundays across generations. We observe and commemorate holidays, finding comfort in our traditions, marking time and creating meaning together. This is the central time we are together, where we sing, we listen to a sermon attempting to put the world in context, we hold each other in kindness and gentleness and gratitude. We consider larger and deeper truths. We ask God for help or offer our gratitude. We marvel at the vastness of the world. We worship together. It's a soft place to land, a herald for justice, an interfaith partner, a teaching church, a balcony, a servant to those in need, a genuine community, a circle of care, and a praying people. And all of this can be done because we have a structure, a council, a board, a staff, a ministry team, a budget, bylaws, a history, all making us a soft place to land, a herald for justice, an interfaith partner, a teaching church, a balcony, a servant to those in need, a genuine community, a circle of care, a praying people, and an institution. And I know that last one, the institution, is the one we like to rail against, but the reality is that none of this exists outside of that. It's a container. It's only a problem if its walls are unmovable, if we aren't able to change things as culture and society and our own sense of self changes, which is certainly the place we find ourselves in nowadays. Right? The ground beneath our feet is moving. We have no idea when it's going to stop. But I think our walls are movable. The institution is strong. It's also empty without all the other parts. Church isn't just about ministry. It's not just about where we go on Sunday. It's not just about how we organize for justice or how we serve those in need. Church is a vast system of relationships and activities. It is also a verb. It is not a noun. In fact, this place, the noun, this physical space of our current moment represents us least of all. It holds us and defines us less than any of the other things I mentioned. But even if our space reflects our theology well, church is still a verb, still an action word, still a state of being more than a place we go on Sunday for an hour. And when we join a church, it's not to say we'll be here to worship, once a week and see you there. It's to say, I am part of you. I want to be one of the threads that makes up this living community that cares and serves and marches and learns and prays together. And even more than that, when I think of that awful day when people from different churches, when I think of the awful day, and I realize what I mean is that awful day after Superstorm Sandy, when people from all those different churches did everything they could to help that family in urgent need. The living church extends far outside one's community and actively manifests love in the world. The idea of church is really being challenged. Once a stalwart center for American living, it could reasonably be perceived as a dying institution, a relic of our history. And I'll tell you that if there was something better ready to take its place, I would say let it go. But there's not. What I'm seeing instead is fragmented neighborhoods, lonely people, a fragile nation, a growing number of poor and desperate people, and a fraying social fabric unable to catch people as they fall. We don't need churches to accept their fate and fade into history. We need them to step up and let go of the things that don't work, that feel staid and musty, and to reimagine church. So this sermon is part of this series, the This We Believe series. I've been doing it for 2 years. I'm taking these traditional concepts. I think I've done God and prayer, now church, salvation, creation, and I consider them from a progressive perspective. So this study of church, there were a lot of ways for me to go with it. But the truth is, I don't actually want to define church, or I don't want to mine what it's meant through history. What I actually want to do with church is disrupt it. I want to stop us from doing exactly what we did 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, which, by the way, is probably when this liturgy was created. This is probably at least 200 years old. Instead, I really want to start reimagining. I want us to start asking, how are we best served? How do we best serve our neighborhood, our city, our state, our country? How do we serve the world? Ministers across denominations are asking ourselves, are we hospice chaplains or are we midwives? Are we helping our churches die or are we helping them be reborn? Church, as I described, isn't just about what happens in an hour. I like this hour. It's actually the only time we all try to gather, when we get to clarify our values, and it's easiest in this context to welcome newcomers. But this is only 1 hour of a whole week where we are invited to be church. So I was writing this sermon, and I asked myself, really just in the privacy of my own heart, what does it mean to be or live or do church? And the answer came to me so fully and immediately, I had to catch my breath. The answer that just came up out of me was putting love at the center of everything. That's the action. That's the disruption. That's what it means to be church. If we are a soft place to land, a herald for justice, an interfaith partner, a teaching church, a balcony, a servant, a genuine community, a circle of care, a praying people, and an institution, it's because we put love at the center of everything. That's what embodied love looks like. My theology of church is simple. Church is how we live in community and how we move into the world, putting love at the center of everything.